Mic check, baby. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, who to roster, who to pay up for, which bets to chase. It's what you would call a classic difficult decision, and we are here to help you. You are watching DraftKings' The Sweat. I am Emerson Lotzia. Let's see what's cooking on the DK Sportsbook ahead of Game 4 of the ALDS between the Astros and Tampa. DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Gary Thorne into Hizzy. Going up against Justin Verlander in an elimination game is less than ideal for the Rays, guys. So, hell, dude was money in game 1, hence why Houston is a big favorite at minus 235. Anyway, you're chasing the Rays, though, at plus 200 to pull off the upset and extend the series. Garion.
I will say that getting a team of the Rays caliber in their home ballpark at plus 200 seems kind of crazy. But it really just speaks to how great Justin Verlander has been so far this season, especially when he's had the opportunity to pitch on the road. He's been easily the best pitcher in baseball. You can say that about almost anything non-Garrett Cole related, but his numbers bear out as the best pitcher in baseball on the road. He's held opponents to a 235 WOBA in that spot. Opposing lineups have just a 211 on base percentage against Verlander this season on the road, which is insane. And even if you just look into the overall record of the Astros, they're 13-2 in their last 15 road Verlander starts, which again is stupefying. So, look, it's nice value for the Rays, I'll admit that, but I don't really have all that much interest in betting them tonight.
Gary, and I also like your haircut. I'd like you to know that.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. You act shocked, like I don't compliment you all the time.
That's my mistake. I'm sorry for making you feel that way.
Okay, it's okay. Pierce, what do you think here, man? You're going to chase the Rays, right?
No, I'm going to fade the Rays as well. They strike out too much for me. They're just not a good playoff team. They can put up good regular season numbers, but you can't go in the playoffs striking out the way that they do. You need extended bats. You need to put the ball in play. Striking out is not the way that you win the playoffs. And as Gary mentioned, they have really good numbers this year for the Rays, but if you look at it, that's the regular season. In the regular season, you're facing 3s, 4s, and 5s for average and below average teams. It's not hard to put up good numbers. In the playoffs, you're facing aces. You're not going to hit home runs off of Verlander and Garrett Cole. You're going to strike out. especially if you're a team that's prone to striking out. You're not facing 3s, 4s, and 5s. They strike out against 3s, 4s, and 5s. Of course they will strike out tonight. Don't believe the Rays can get this done.
Not a good playoff team against a pitcher that is unbelievable in the playoffs. Kind of makes sense which way you guys were going there, which way you were leaning. Run total of 7.5 in this one. The better payout is on the under at -103. Are you chasing that, Pierce?
I'm going to fade this. I think it goes over tonight. You've got Verlander pitching on 3 days rest. He threw 100 pitches in his last outing. He is 36 years old. And if I'm managing the Houston Astros, I'm basically looking at, hey, we've got tomorrow off. Let's use the bullpen. If Verlander gets tired, gets into a jam, yank him out of there. They saved the bullpen last night. They used Wade Miley to eat up some innings, so they've got a fresh bullpen. They've got a day off tomorrow. And they've got Garrett Cole pitching on Thursday. You're not going to need the bullpen for that, so use it tonight. I just don't see Verlander going deep enough. He's going to give up runs. And then you got Yanni Chirino's probably going to enter for the Rays, and he's pitched, 3 times in the last 2 months. His last outing gave up 4 runs in 2 innings. I think the Rays are going to give up runs too.
Okay, Gary, and we know the Astros, they get guys on base. So it seems like an over might be a safe bet.
Yeah, look, this is a low number, and I can find a lot of logic in everything Pierce said, but I am going to chase that this game goes under. I just think that you've got Verlander. Maybe he doesn't pitch 7 or 8 innings, but I think he's going to at least go 6, and that's a high-quality 6 innings. The back end of that Astros bullpen is quite good. And then when it comes to the Rays, I just have a lot of faith in Kevin Cash, and he said all the right things so far this afternoon about how to handle a bullpen game. Not that we've seen all that many of these in a elimination game in the playoffs, but he said he'd be willing to use a guy like Nick Anderson in the 2nd inning if it called for that. And I think that gives me a lot of hope that there's just going to be high-quality pitchers in this game. He also mentioned that really anyone is on the table aside from Charlie Morton, and we're looking at maybe Blake Snell pitches 2 or 3 innings in this game. He only threw 58 pitches on Saturday. So I just think we're going to see so many good pitchers in this game, so many great pitchers in this game, honestly, that it keeps this total below 7.5.
Okay, so based off what you guys just said, I have a feeling where you're going to be going on this one. Verlander strikeout total 8.5, finished with 8 in game 1. You'll get +114 though if he hits the over tonight. So you're not going to chase that, are you, Garion? You don't think he's going to be going that long?
I still think he can do this in 6 innings, honestly.
Okay.
And I think, like Pierce said, the Rays just are so prone to striking out. If you dig in through the splits, they have been more prone to strike out against left-handed pitchers than right-handed pitchers. But for the season, they just really do have a tendency to swing and miss. And that's really the key here is they are technically, statistically, one of the more patient teams in the league when it comes to chase rate. They're top 7 in chase rate, but their swinging strike rate at 11.6% is so high. It's in the lower third of the league. And their zone contact rate is in the lower third of the league. And when you're facing someone like Verlander, who is among the top 3 qualified pitchers in both swinging strike rate and zone contact rate, this is a guy who's going to pump the strike zone full of quality pitches. And that's exactly the thing that the Rays have had trouble making contact with so far this season. So I think this sets up perfectly for Verlander, and I would take the over here.
Pierce, which direction would you like to go?
I don't think he's going to go over. I mean, look, the projection is about 9 strikeouts, and that's if everything goes well. But as I mentioned already, I think he's a good play, and I'm going to have him in my lineups. Probably won't put him in my captain spot, and he'll get strikeouts. But I just don't believe he's going to go deep enough into the game to get those strikeouts. As I mentioned before, if I'm managing the Astros, I've got a bullpen. The bullpen's fresh. It's a perfect situation to use them. I don't see why or how he goes out there at 60. I know that we've seen pitchers go out there in short rest, like Kurt Schilling and Josh Beckett having amazing games, but we've also seen guys like Josh Tomlin go out there and have terrible games. I would lean towards him not going deep into the game because he's on short rest. He's an old man. How long can he keep this up?
Gary, would you like to answer that? How long can he keep this up?
Well, I'm the youngest person here, so I'm probably the wrong person to answer this question. But I would say for at least one more game, he can keep this up. No,
I think he goes.
I can't question Justin Verlander at this point. And I would say that while they might try to limit his innings, at the same time, and we'll get into this in a second, if you're the Astros, you want to win this game, obviously, but you want to use Garrett Cole in game 1 of the ALCS against the Yankees. You want to have him hypothetically available to pitch 1, 4, and 7. So I think they're going to take this game really seriously. I don't think they're going to play it like their backs are up against the wall, but I don't think they're going to be, we've got a second opportunity, a second chance at this. If Verlander's looking good, I think they just leave him in there.
Yeah, but if 2 guys are on base in the 5th inning, I think they yank him.
All right, guys. The Astros are the current favorites to come out of the American League at -167. Yankees are at +135. Rays are a pretty big long shot at +2,000. What are the chances you're chasing somebody besides the Astros to reach the World Series? Pierce, quickly.
Yeah, I would chase this. Verlander, again, on short rest. And then it goes to Garrett Cole, which seems crazy, but we've sat here on this show with Garrett Cole as a +300 favorite against the Mariners, and he lost that game. The Rays have played well against the Yankees this year, so I'll chase the money.
Okay, Garion?
Yeah, this is a really tempting line for the Yankees. I mean, the fact that we've got a team that still hasn't technically gotten out of the division series being the overwhelming favorite against a team that has already clinched a spot in that ALCS is kind of insane. I understand, again, that hypothetically you could see Verlander and Cole pitch 5 of the 7 games in the championship series, but as Pierce has alluded to, Verlander might not be able to pitch on 3 days rest. So we'll see. But I think this is a great opportunity to bet the Yankees.
All right, you guys heard Pierce mention he does not want to put Verlander in his captain spot. We are going to talk showdown picks for this game coming up. We're price checking around the NFL as well. But first, let's catch up with former Patriots quarterback Scott Zolak. All right, Scott Zolak in the house, former Patriots quarterback, now host there on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Good to see you.
95, yeah, 95. I spent a lot of time on 95 driving. It's good being here.
Yeah, I know, right? Traffic
nice.
on 95. It's fantastic. Isn't this great?
This is great. I never thought I'd be sweating on the sweat, but it's happening. So
no, it's good. Perfect, man. You fit in just fine here with us.
Good to see you. I see you on TV all the time.
Oh, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate it. Your Patriots right now, man, one of 2 undefeated teams in the NFL. How surprised are we there are only 2 undefeated teams through 5 weeks?
A little surprised by that. I thought, Kansas City would be able to manage themselves through that Colts game. Kind of surprised about what's going on out in San Francisco, but then you watch them play. They're well coached. They have 2 good running backs, fast defense, recipe to succeed, which is great for Jimmy Garoppolo. And you take a kid with a good coach, and Garoppolo looks polished. I think he's got a couple things to work on, but he's going to be good there a long time.
Yeah, they went to town on the Browns, huh?
Yeah. And I kind of chuckle at it because the non-football people, for all you fantasy people out there loving the Browns, and you thought you were going to put up all these stats.
Yeah.
You still got to go out. You still got to play. You got to play defense. And what I like about the Patriots and what they've been able to do is the defense is sort of carrying them now. So as good as they are in defense, they got a lot of problems still on offense. They haven't hit their stride, but they're still a 3rd highest scoring offense, so they're doing something right.
That defense you mentioned, I mean, does it have the potential to be, I guess, one of the best you've ever seen in Patriots history?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to 03, 04, and even in the mid-'90s when we drafted Willie McGinnis, we drafted Ty Law, who's a Hall of Famer now, Teddy Bruschi, all the good guys that I played with back in the day that saw them develop, eventually won 3 championships at the beginning of Tom's career. It's sort of back-ending it now. It's kind of come full circle, which is, I think it's going to add to the story 10 years from now, 20 years from now. We look at this historic run that they've been able to sort of contend for 20 years, which is amazing. And you see some teams in other sports, you look at a team like the Red Sox, you win it one year, you completely implode the next year. And then you got to wait, you build it up, then you win it. Patriots have been there competing, 13 AFC title games. It's been a good run for me doing a broadcast.
Yeah, it has. And what's the weak spot of this team right now? Is it the kicking game? Good grief, right?
But I mean, tell me a team out there that you look at San Francisco, for example, Robbie Gould misses 2 kicks the other night. So tell me who's got the strength at kicker? Maybe Baltimore. Yeah. And other than that, I think it's wide open.
Hey, Lambeau with Jacksonville is perfect right now, 12 for 12.
Yeah, but I mean, kicking game's critical. You look at what happened with the Bears last year, Cody Parkey, and they've tried to fix that. Everybody has their issues, but we got a pretty good punter, Jake Bailey's kicking off, and I think that helps.
Yeah. What was your reaction when Nugent missed that first field goal?
I laughed at it on the broadcast. And you all thought it was going to be, this is what everybody rooted for. The R2 to 6 show on a sports hub. Oh, bring in all the kickers. You try them out. They're tired of Gostowski. Yeah, now you don't know what you have till it's gone.
What do you like from Josh Gordon this year?
I like
he
that
seems like a different person.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I've been around Josh a lot, going back to when they acquired him last year. You go back to his demeanor after games, limited to 3 questions, don't really talk to him in the locker room, sort of has the head down, the headphones on, doesn't really want to interact with people. Now he's looking at you, he's answering your questions, he's understanding you. But I think playing through the hands, you see his finger going the other way. continues to play through that game, making tough catches. You know the finger's bottom, pops up on the injury report with the knee, working through that. It's not perfect right now, but I think Josh is dealing with a lot of physical things. I don't think he's dealing with the mental stuff. I think the mental stuff's great right now.
That's what I'm saying. You see him in the post-game press conference. You're like, this is a different guy than we saw last year.
Yeah, and you can see what they want to do. I mean, they got all the weapons at backs, and when Edelman's right, he's the best slot guy in the game. Josh is sort of your big physical guy. He can catch a slant, pick up 4 yards by falling down. You can see why they went after Antonio Brown and missing that one, sort of burst layer.
Yeah.
Because I think Philip Dorsett is at 3 or 4 is perfect.
Oh, what are they going to do at tight end?
Tight end right now, they're going to manage it, maybe make a move. I mean,
because that's always been a spot Tom could rely on for so long.
It's tough because they brought in Ben Watson to sort of be that guy and manage it until maybe you get the big guy to come back. And I know he's going to Fox.
Really? I was going to say.
That's temporary. I mean, Jason Witten came out of the booth. He was doing a Monday Night Football, the best gig in the business.
Thank you for
He wasn't very
leaving the
good at
booth.
it, but hey, go back to playing tight end. And I'm sure that's written at Rob still. If somebody calls, he can bolt if he wants to play football.
I mean, Tom Brady's still getting it done. All-time passing yards. He's moving up on the list. I believe he was 18 away from Peyton.
Sure.
Like $3,000 or something away from Drew Brees. I know Drew Brees is out like a few games here, so it's going to be a while before he comes back. Is Tom going to eventually be at the top of that list?
I think so, but I think that's the furthest thing from his mind. I think what Tom wants to do is win another championship, get a 7th ring, and I think that's going to help bolster everything that he has post-playing career-wise with the TB12 brand, right down the street here, and that store opening. I know he's going to New York, wants to go to China, all that stuff. So the expansion of that brand, that becomes bigger and better if he could continue to play well and win another championship.
You mentioned the Chiefs a little earlier. I believe they're coming to Gillette like in December.
You need tickets? Don't ask me for tickets.
Yeah.
You guys need tickets any game.
I would love some tickets to that game.
Why don't you get a credential and go cover it?
Yeah, that's true.
Should
Come on,
interview people
DraftKings,
for
get
this
on top
thing,
of it, please.
Let's go.
I'm big time now.
Put you up in the end zone.
Yeah, that'd be great. Actually, just put me in the booth with you. I can be your intern.
We can do that. You can hand me cards. I can read them. That's good.
How do you expect that game playing out? Like right now? Anything can change up until now.
Anything can change. I mean, I think one thing that I caution people with Kansas City is they can't get after the passer. Justin Houston's gone. They have some new guys. Can't rush the passer. They can't stop the run. You saw that the other night. Colts were getting 6, 7, 12 yards a clip when they needed it. And that's what Jacoby Brissett is, sort of a game manager quarterback. They could have loaded the line, put 8 guys in a box, and say, try and beat us with T.Y. Hilton. They didn't do that. Things aren't right if they don't have Tyreek Hill. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, motion, trick plays, gadget plays. But I think New England, if they stay healthy on defense, that front 7 with the athletes that they have with guys like Winovich, Kyle Van Noy, healthy Hightower, Jamie Collins, you're going to be able to keep Mahomes in a box. Mahomes is a different guy outside the pocket. He's the best I've ever seen outside the pocket, including Favre, Roethlisberger.
Some people are saying Russell Wilson did all this before.
Russ can do the whole game.
Yeah.
And I think this kid's different. It's off the back foot. The touchdown pass where they're back.
Yeah, the other night against the Colts.
We saw it last year in New England where he hit Tyreek Hill in between coverage in the zone, 45-yard dart. That's stuff you can't really cover, and that's the wow factor with him. But I think you could contain that wow factor in the pocket.
What about containing the wow factor of like a guy like Lamar Jackson? I mean, that's a game that's coming up before the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think we're getting more and more film on Lamar. But I think Hollywood Brown helps him.
Yeah,
because you got that home run hitter. We take Gilmore, stick him on him. I don't think we have to play that much nickel against them. So they're going to be able to put 8 guys in that front, bring McCourty, Pat Chung. Pat Chung should be healthy by that game. The big thing with the schedule, get through this Thursday night game, gives you 11 days, which is in essence is a mini bye to get you to the Jets game at New York Jets next Monday night. And then you eventually get to Baltimore, and then you get the bye, and then really the stretch run, starting with Philly, Dallas, Houston, Chiefs. That's our season.
Okay, so what do we make right now of all these backup quarterbacks like actually getting the job done in the NFL? What's that say about the NFL? You got Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
We know a lot about him here.
Well, Jimmy was here. I think those 2 guys, for example, that's coaching. So those guys are already somewhat polished. And
I mean, Kyle Allen there in Carolina's 3-0. I mean, they've already forgotten.
Who do you got in the backfield? You got McCaffrey to hand the ball to.
True.
He's going to be your all-purpose gainer. Like he could shatter Eric Dickerson's record if he keeps
So then
pace.
I guess we could say the same about like Teddy Bridgewater then in New Orleans, right?
Bridgewater, good. They're paying him $7 million to be the backup. Why? Because when Drew Brees is healthy, this guy kept it going, and it's all about home field advantage. You want to get back to being, home in the divisional round, home in the AFC title game, home in the NFC title game. Like the Saints got screwed. They're fighting to get back to that game, coach it up better, and just keep it going. And that's what Teddy's been able to do.
Are you buying into Minshew mania?
I am.
Gardner Minshew?
Yeah, and
Dude,
I think
it's fantastic.
I talked to Drew Bledsoe too, and this is a guy that's moved around.
Yeah.
And, you go and you play for guys like Mike Leach, and gives you a different perspective. And I think for a guy that bounces around and fights and wants to play, And he just really doesn't care what he looks like. He's in his jockstrap thing. Now, he's a little different. I wouldn't do some of the stuff, but it's a throwback to one of my favorite movies, Napoleon Dynamite with Uncle Rico. He's Uncle Rico. So
how about them getting together like 2 weekends ago too? That was well done.
That stuff
at a Waffle House down
because
in Florida.
If you don't believe in him and it's not going to be the guy, he's not going to be the guy 8 weeks from now. Then you pass that opportunity. That's about capturing a moment and. They're selling T-shirts and mustaches for season tickets for people that want to come and buy tickets to the game, walk-up tickets. That's good for Jacksonville. It's
and
good for the league.
Right now, Nick Foles is getting Nick Foles'd.
Feel bad for that guy.
I do too.
In a weird sense, I thought, boy, if you found a way to make a great package deal for Carson Wentz, and I know they drafted the guy, they signed him, but Nick Foles was in a great spot in Philadelphia. He was comfortable there. That team loved him. And even going back to last year's loss in Saints game, he made the throw, they fumbled it. They still should have been advancing. Nick Foles gets them to play hard there.
Yeah, he does. A couple other rookies.
I'm just saying if they could have got a landslide for Wentz. I mean, you need like 2 ones.
Who knows? Nick Foles could end up back, in Philadelphia eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, Wentz is a guy that moves around. Another one of those guys. How long can you last trying to make plays with your legs where you get hit? So it's tough.
Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, 2 rookie quarterbacks we've seen a lot this season as well. Who has impressed you the most? Seems like Kyler at times, there's all that hype about him in this offense, this air raid offense there, and doesn't seem to be delivering. You
got to protect him, and then you're dealing with an older guy, and Larry Fitzgerald, who can he get frustrated at some point?
Yeah.
Or you're constantly. I know
he seems like such a good human being.
You're playing with another, but again, here we go. We're resetting at the position again. How many quarterbacks has he been through? I think Daniel Jones is in a better position with the Giants because big market NFC East team, it's a physical team, and I think he's going to be good. I think he was groomed, down at Duke, under Cutcliffe to be a good pro quarterback, so sort of Manning-esque.
It's Brendan Glasheen again, back in with the DraftKings Fantasy Flash. The Jets have announced Sam Darnold has received full medical clearance to resume playing, and he will start Sunday's game against the Cowboys. We could sense a return was near. Head coach Adam Gase said last week things were progressing in the right direction. Turns out New York ruled out Darnold last Friday. The team's medical staff felt he was too much at risk to play against Philly, and we saw how that game turned out. I'm not so sure even with Darnold, the Jets would have had a shot. The cardio has ramped up over the weeks to rebound from mono. Now, from a game plan perspective, Darnold should have a clear mind. He's taking all the first team reps. No Luke Falk in the picture. So all first team reps in practice this week as he prepares for another tough NFC East defense in Dallas. I will state the obvious again. There's an uptick in value for all Jets offensive personnel, but warning, the matchup is worrisome.
Okay, more football stuff coming your way, right? Meow, like what it'll cost you to roster the following dudes. And to help us out, we have 3 dudes on the horn. DraftKings contributors, Reed Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, and Matt Jones. Hello, everybody. Good. Everyone feels, let's see how you guys all feel about these price points. Will Fuller's rises up $1,500, now $6K, thanks to that monster game against the Falcons. You rostering this dude against the Chiefs, Reed?
I'm not. Maybe in GPPs, I think you can if people, look at that price tag initially and say this is too much. And this is really after that big game. You get Kansas City, who historically has been bad against the pass, actually really good against the pass in terms of their defense, or receivers aren't putting up a lot of points because that Kansas City rush defense or the rushing defense is really bad. The pass defense, going back to that DVOA, they're ranked 8th. And so there's not a lot. Again, guys in that price range, I get it. Will Fuller has the big playability. He saw 14 catches, 200-plus yards, and 3 touchdowns. It's not going to happen every single week. DeAndre Hopkins is the safe floor guy in that game. Marquise Brown, if he can go against Cincy this week at that price tag or around that salary range, I'd rather go him over Fuller.
Maddie, 8 points, 8 points, 10 points, 5 points, 56 points. Come on, I know you're buying into it.
Oh, I'm buying. I mean, the problem was with the point production, right? Like, he's seen at least 6 targets in every week since week 1, and he's coming back from an ACL last year. Like, people seem to just conveniently ignore the fact that he could have started off slow because he tore his ACL in week 8 last year. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine paying this price for him. He probably should have been closer to this price last week with the workload that he was getting. So yeah, I'll buy Fuller even after the big week.
Jeffrey, where do you sit on this one?
I mean, I'm probably going to sell just because, again, it's only $1,400 to get up to DeAndre Hopkins off of Will Fuller. it's nothing against Will Fuller. I think Matt's exactly correct in saying that this is a fair price for Will Fuller. He's still the kind of guy who, even if he doesn't get 15 targets or whatever, if he gets 5 targets, he can catch 4 passes for 100 yards and a touchdown, go off. So but the thing is, it's just so easy to get up to DeAndre Hopkins. Chiefs have a bit better pass rush, too. I think that just might lead to Deshaun Watson going to his first read more often, which is almost always DeAndre Hopkins. So I like this as a bounce-back spot for Hopkins. I also kind of like going down at 5,900 to Steph Diggs, who is another player who's, just has not done much to begin the year, but it seems overdue for a massive game. So, again, nothing against Fuller, but probably like a sell week for me.
One of your best whiteboard productions, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely phenomenal. Nick Chubb doesn't even hit 11 fantasy points last night, and so his price jumps $800 to 7-3 at home on Sunday against Seattle. Yay or nay, Matt?
Oh, I'm all over Chubb every single week. Obviously that game last night was a bit of a disaster from a Cleveland perspective, but he did still see 17 touches last night. And on the year so far, he's seeing 42% of the opportunities for Cleveland, which is 4th best in the league behind Le'Veon, McCaffrey, and Dalvin. So if he's going to keep seeing that workload, I'm willing to buy on him.
Okay, Jeff, what do you think? Workload increasing.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Matt here. Look, if you watched last night's game, like you're a schlub like me and actually watched that disaster, you saw Nick Chubb on the field basically the whole game. I think he came off for like 7 snaps. And the week before, it was much of the same. So this is just a player who's become an every down back, essentially like a McCaffrey or a Fournette. There's not many of these guys out there. So, I just think it's a perfect buy low opportunity. The last time everyone was off Nick Chubb was against Baltimore, and he absolutely destroyed there. I'm not saying he's going to do the same thing, but again, if you can get lower ownership after everyone's down on the Browns, yeah, I'll definitely buy into Nick Chubb at this price. He's playing too much.
Reed, fifth highest priced running back on the main slate on Sunday.
Yeah, and the price increase has a lot to do with, we have 4 teams on buys, right? And so you have just that price dispersion across. And look at the top guys, right? It's a matter of no one else warrants that price tag. The only person would be Fournette, but he gets the Saints. Saints actually pretty good against the run over the last 2 weeks. So that's the only part where I would switch these guys. These guys hit on it, Nick Chubb. The production is there. This kind of sets up a little bit like a pass-first type of game with going against Seattle's secondary. And their rush defense being pretty stout. They're middle of the pack in terms of rankings right now. But yeah, Nick Chubb, the production is there. He's shown the proclivity to take these handoffs and go 80-plus yards. So price tag increase, everything is warranted.
All right, you mentioned the Saints. Let's talk about the Saints. Michael Thomas will cost you $7,800 against the Jaguars, an increase of $1,200. Was he just way too cheap before, Jeff?
Yeah, he really was. Look, I loved everything about Michael Thomas last week, especially the matchup versus a weak Tampa Bay secondary at home. It was just a buy low spot. I think some people sort of saw that and got onto it, but not everyone. I think this is kind of the opposite this week. Again, going on the road against Jacksonville, who I know they didn't look good last week, but they're still a pretty solid secondary, even with Jalen Ramsey out. And again, they do have a good pass rush, or they have in spots anyway. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the Jags defense bounce back a little bit here. With such a big price increase, I'm okay going away from this spot with the Saints and Michael Thomas on the road against a potentially better defense, Jags defenses.
Reed, we're in the same room, and you were just rolling your eyes hardcore.
Well, it's just the bias that Jeff has at Jacksonville. I don't think you can give an unbiased, objective perspective on the defense. And look, they're not back to their one play away from the Super Bowl type defense. But they're not bad. They're not terrible, right? And Jalen Ramsey, come on, this could be a Super Bowl contending team. You got Gardner Minshew controlling this team and DJ Chark.
Yeah.
I actually don't think this is a Chark week. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Michael Thomas, of course, right? He kind of had the price decrease according to his quarterback, who you're tethered with, obviously, at the receiver. And we saw what Teddy Bridgewater can do, his sort of ceiling game. And Michael Thomas was in the prime spot, the same with Will Fuller, the same with some guys moving forward this week. At this price tag, look, if he gets Trey Herndon with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's a guy that gives up quite a bit. And so if that's the case, then yeah, I think there's another big week. I like to pay up for running backs more so than receivers because we see a guy like Will Fuller go off at a smaller price tag. Yes, the price increase is there, but I'm going to be off on Thomas this week.
pretty close to the highest price tag he's carried all season, Matt. You going to pay for him? Is he in a good spot against this Jaguars team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the defense doesn't matter crowd, so I'll gladly take any sort of ownership discount I can get. 7,800 still seems pretty reasonable. Like last week was obviously absurd. He's averaging 11 targets a game. And in his career, he's actually done well against top 12 passing defenses. He averages almost 20 PPR points. So yeah, I'm not scared of the matchup at all. Like the Teddy Bridgewater thing, like who cares? Teddy can't throw the ball down the field and Michael Thomas doesn't go down the field. So it really doesn't affect him a heck of a lot.
Okay, same game, following a 27-point fantasy performance here against the Panthers. Gardner Minshew's price is actually down $300 to $5,000. How big of a steal is this, Reed?
Yeah, this is a steal. I mean, we've heard this stat quite a bit if you tuned into any sports broadcast, is that Gardner is one of the 3 guys in the NFL in fantasy football that has averaged more than 16 points in his starting games. And so when you look at Gardner Minshew and what these guys have to do against this team, yeah, I think it's a decent spot at his price tag. And we talked about it earlier. DJ Chark probably gets Marshawn Lattimore. We saw what Lattimore did to Evans. And DJ Chark is on a historic season. So I give Jeff props for calling out the Charknado this season. But this more is a D.D. Westbrook connection for me with Gardner Minshew. I think he's at a good price tag right now.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I mean, Lattimore's going to shut down the Charknado.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
Okay, it's not going to happen. No, I mean, look, Gardner's definitely in an interesting spot. I mean, he's averaging over 25 rushing yards per game, which only just adds to his upside every week. Again, New Orleans is a good defense, but on the road here, I'm not so certain that we should necessarily be scared off of them. Or at least, I should say they've been a good defense the last 2 games, and they're top 10 in adjusted sack rate as a D-line. So that does scare you a little bit, but at the same time, you know, this is really cheap price for a guy who's got elite wide receivers in Chark on the outside, and then D.D. Westbrook, who's going to have a fantastic matchup in the slot. And Westbrook could be a very sneaky play this week. I mean, he's basically tied with Chark in targets. So I absolutely think there's some stack possibilities here with Minshew. I don't think he's necessarily like a must play or anything like that, but yeah, definitely on the list of targets this week for GPPs.
Oh, man, Matt, yeah, Jeff just called DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook elite, and that's why I love Jeff.
Yeah, we could talk about that later at some point. But
Chark is elite. I mean, like,
yes, no, I agree with you there. I agree.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm fully buying Minsanity. I think $5K is a completely ludicrous price. Like, even when he took over in the middle of the game, he scored 20 points. Like, they're taking shots with him. Over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging over 375 passing air yards, which is 6th most in the past 2 weeks, and he's QB7. And the Saints do have, you know, a pretty solid defense, but as far as fantasy production goes, besides the week that Dak put up a dud against them, they've let up an average of 30 points. So it's not like quarterbacks haven't got there against them, even if it's not necessarily reflected on the real NFL scoreboard.
Okay, guys, we're going to rip through some Week 6 game spreads with you guys coming up here right after Pat Mayo helps you out with those Houston Open picks.
I do think my favorite in this range, now that we're at the end of it, is Doc Redman, shockingly enough. Bent is the one surface where he's not completely abysmal, so maybe he can just lose a stroke on the greens this week instead of 7, and all of a sudden he's looking great.
Yeah, I really like Doc. He's probably second behind Robbie Shelton to me. It's probably Shelton, then Doc, and then maybe someone like Johnny Vegas. But all 3 of them, I'd pretty much be happy to play. I don't know how many I'll have to, depending on roster construction. But yeah, they open up a lot of opportunity, and I'm not too worried about any of them.
So Harry Higgs, 13th off the tee over the past 36 rounds, second in par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. And that's where all the hard holes are. The teeth of this course, unless you just randomly hit into the water, are in that range. So that's actually kind of interesting on Harry Higgs. He had a really good first round at the Shriners, then gagged it away. He's another one who stupidly missed the cut for me. But even if you look at the key proximity ranges, 150 to 175, 175 to 200, he's top 20 over that time in both of those stats as well. So maybe it is a week to go back to Harry Higgs. But Brennan Steele's right there.
Well, I'll tell you what on Higgs. I mean, he's got 4 starts this year. He's gained strokes off the tee in all of them. Last week was the first week he did not gain on approaches, and he lost like 3.6, which is a ton. Then he's alternated. This is what I always love to do, Pat. The alternating. He gained strokes putting in his first start, then lost it, then gained them, then lost it. So he has to, by the rule of this alternating strategy that I have, he has to gain strokes putting this week. So he's probably going to win the golf tournament.
All right, so star next to his name. right above them, they're like, do we go back to Andrew Landry, who's been a real mixed bag? You see it, and you see why people like him, and then you're like, oh, God, I rostered Andrew Landry. This is horrible. It's all going terrible. But then you have, like, Beauregard and Tom Lewis right there, too, who, by, like, actual, are these guys good? They are really good.
Like official world golf rankings, those guys are a lot better than the rest of them. Although Beauregard, I mean, I know he plays all over the place and it's kind of hard to compare, but what has he done since that match play where he kind of jumped onto everybody's radar? I know he's got a couple of top 15 since then, but I was perusing his results earlier and I didn't think they were all that great. I think Tom Lewis is a bit of a better player. But Andrew Landry is like, oh my God, he looks like the best golfer on the planet, 1 or 2 rounds at a time. And then he immediately follows that up with being the worst golfer on the planet. It's unbelievably frustrating. I've kind of just relegated him to showdown situations because he can look so good for 18 holes at a time, but can't seem to put it together. So I don't know. I like Andrew Landry's skill set. I sprinkle him here and there, but I mostly use him in showdowns.
All right, so $6,000 range. It kicks off actually, you can kick it off with, let's see, Grayson's up there, who's been abysmal. Ryan Almail, Johnson Wagner, course history guy. He's at $6,900. Then you have like Trahan, who's ball striking really well, can't putt. Yeah. The one I'm really interested in, like, I'll probably go to the Gooch. I might go to Bo Hogg, who's been okay. But the Gim Reaper, $6,800. There's a Texas guy for you. He's not playing well, but like actual upside, he's quite good.
Okay, let's talk more baseball with DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Gary and Thorne. Gentlemen, we hit on the sportsbook side of this ALDS matchup, Game 4 between the Astros and Rays. Now let's see who you're going to roster in your showdown contest. Pierce, I'll start with you. Justin Verlander, almost $20K as a captain. But is this a situation where you have to put him there? I think I remember you saying earlier you were not going to.
No, I can't afford him in that spot, and I can't build a competitive lineup with him in that spot. And we've seen already in the games before where, you know, having the best pitcher in that spot hasn't really worked out. You get the guy who goes off and hits a home run or 2 home runs like Yandy Diaz, which we predicted last week. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to try to predict the guy that hits the home run and save a little bit of money.
Can you afford this guy in your captain spot, Gare Bear?
Look, I can completely understand being skeptical. It's hard to slot a player in and be left for just over $6,000 per remaining 5 players. But at the same time, I think for Showdown, you just have to pick a narrative and stick to it. And if I'm following my own gambling advice, I think this game goes under 7.5 runs, and I think Verlander goes over 8.5 strikeouts. And that means I've got a pitcher in a low-scoring game who I think is going to get close to double-digit strikeouts. I kind of have to make him my captain. And look, I think we'll get into this in a second, but with the way that the Rays are going to rely on their bullpen today, we've been talking about this throughout the last week, how especially in the playoffs, you can kind of rely on some relievers in this showdown format. You could even go double Rays reliever. I don't think that's that crazy a route to go because there seems like there's just going to be guys who are going to pitch in this game. So I think there's ways to make it work. And look, I just think if you're not captaining them, you just have to get Verlander in a lineup.
Okay, well, the next 3 most expensive players here, I'm looking at it. The Astros, George Springer, Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez. If you only have room for one, who are you playing here? Garion.
I might have room for none. So this question is very applicable to me. Look, you go through each of these guys, and the big thing to consider here, as we've been talking about, is how many different pitchers the Rays are probably going to use in this game. And you have to find guys that are good in every split. And unfortunately, when we're looking to differentiate these players, none of these 3 guys, right-handers or left-handers, have a split below a 144 WRC plus this season. They're all incredible. So when it comes to separating 3 incredible players, let's just go with the guy who's been the most incredible player in baseball. since August 1st. I just think Alex Bregman's playing on another level right now. And if he's not going to be the most expensive offensive piece in a game, I'm going to try to exploit that every single time.
Okay, Pierce, you're not rostering the most expensive guy here in this showdown. So which one of these three are you going to have on your roster?
Yeah, I can afford this guy, and I can put him in my captain spot. I'm going to go Yordan Alvarez. And, Gary mentioned that we're probably going to see a lot of arms, and it's more than likely he will face right-handed arms. Now, I know they have some lefties, and they can go in and put guys in for one batter or two batters, but more than likely we know that they're starting with right-handed pitching. And Yordan Alvarez is 342 ISO against right-handed pitching, 181 WRC plus. I'm chasing the home run. I know Bregman and Springer are great baseball players, but if I'm looking for a guy who can put one over the wall, I like Yordan.
Which Rays bats are you interested in, Pierce?
Look, I still think Verlander's going to have a good game. I just don't think he's going to go deep. I don't love rostering the Rays, but I'll go with Brandon Lowe. I know that Verlander's been good against righties and lefties, but I got to pick someone, and Lowe has been good against right-handed pitching. He's a fastball hitter, best fastball hitter on the team. He's got a 504 WOBA against right-handed fastballs. There's not a lot of stats to like when you're going up against Verlander, so I'll take that from Lowe.
Okay, Rays bats. Garion.
Yeah, like Pierce talked about, you could really split hairs and talk about how Verlander's striking out 38% of left-handed bats and only 31% of right-handed bats. So they must be so much more viable in this spot. But you're really just looking at lucky. I'm going to go with Avisail Garcia at $7,200. He's been really hot as of late. His month of September was fantastic. He had a 137 WRC plus, and he's hit pretty well in the playoffs so far. So slotting in there right in the middle of the lineup. G-Man Choi is also 6'6", batting third. That's pretty enticing, but I just think Garcia is in a better spot right now.
Okay, then Garion, this is where you come into play. We're going to need some cheap players, and so you mentioned possibly rostering a couple different bullpen guys for the Rays because they're going to be relying on a bunch of relievers.
Yeah, so I think you want to find someone who's going to pitch multiple innings in this game, and as I talked about, you might see Snell. Issue is he's still priced as a starter. You might see Ryan Yarbrough, also still priced as a starter. So the one guy I'm really focusing in on is Oliver Drake at $3,000. He's pitched 2 innings 9 times in the regular season for the Rays, and that's not even counting all the times he pitched into a second inning for the Rays. And this is something he's already done in this series. He pitched 2 innings in Game 2. His strikeout rate up above 30%, striking at more than 12 opponents per 9 this season. I just think he's got a really, really good chance to pitch to more than 4 or 5 batters in this game. And then you're talking about getting strikeouts from a reliever with that little bit of bonus. I think Drake's in a very good spot.
Cheap players you like, Pierce?
So I'll forfeit the 2 innings. With Drake, he can get 2 innings. And I'm going to go with the Astros. I probably will only get 1 inning out of Roberto Osuna, but that 1 inning is probably more likely to have more strikeouts. He can go out there and strike out 3 Rays, whereas Drake's got to face the Astros. That's a tougher matchup. That's, for $3,000, I would rather forfeit an inning and face the team that strikes out with a pitcher who gets strikeouts. And he pairs really well with Verlander.
All right, thank you, dudes. We're going to talk Week 6 point spreads around the NFL right after my conversation with one of the nicest men on planet Earth. Okay, joining us now is Dalton Risner, rookie left guard for the Broncos. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's good to have you here. So a little bit about you for everyone at home watching. You attend high school in Colorado, so how cool was it on draft day being scooped up by the Broncos in the second round?
I mean, that was something that I wanted through the whole process. I remember my agents telling me, man, you got to quit telling all these NFL teams and you got to quit going to your social media and saying that you want to be a part of the Broncos because these other teams aren't going to pick you up. And, I mean, I grew up going to Bronco games. Every Sunday we watched them. I remember being in the stands looking down at those players saying, like, I couldn't imagine being one of those guys. And that was my dream my whole life. Not only growing up in Colorado, but being from the town that I'm from, a 1A football team with, 800 people in the town, no stoplights, and that made it even more special. So coming from Wiggins, Colorado was a dream come true to be a part of the Broncos.
You know, at the same time, it kind of derailed your childhood dream of becoming a pancake maker. Did I read that right? That it was something your dad said. Your dad mentioned, like, when you were like 8 or 9, you just wanted to become like a professional pancake maker, you know?
Yeah, my parents leaked so much stuff, man. It's so funny. I wanted to be a professional pancake maker. I loved the pancakes my mom made. As you can see, I ate well growing up, and that was something I always wanted to do. And apparently that dream came to a close when I became part of the Broncos. But hey, nothing's holding me back from when I'm done with football, opening a pancake house.
It's true, man. I mean, you ate well, now you're playing well, you're starting. I mean, as a rookie, I mean, what's been the biggest adjustment for you?
You know, I think just the speed of the game and playing in the NFL. You know, when you're in college and you think about the NFL at this level, you know, I used to get pretty worked up. Like, man, what's that going to be like? And of course, like, I'm so thankful for the position I have here in Denver. I knew right when I got drafted here by John Elway and Mike Munchak and Vic Fangio that this was going to be a great opportunity for me. And that's exactly what it has been. I've been able to grow as a player. I'm surrounded by a ton of great veterans. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great city and a great football team. I'm excited to see where we go. And I'm just taking every day for what it's worth and just thankful for that.
Awesome. And describe to me the feeling of playing in your first regular season game this year and that, like, pinch me, I'm dreaming moment.
Oh, man. We went to the black hole for my first game ever in the NFL. I was so worked up. Like, I tell you, unreal. And it was just an overwhelming sense of relief and happiness whenever I went out there. I ran out in that field. I was like, wow, I'm playing the Oakland Raiders. Like, I am in the black hole. There was the big guys with face paint that you see growing up.
Yeah, with like the spiked shoulder pads, like in the crowd, you know?
Yes, the spiked shoulder pads, the dirt field. Like, It was everything I could have ever imagined. And the next week when we got home, and I think we played the Bears, like, that was just – and I got my name called. I got to run out on the field with 70,000 fans roaring for me. And I just pictured little kids in that stadium looking at me saying that they wanted to be like me. Let's be honest, they're probably looking at Joe Flacco or Philip Lindsay, but hey, I mean, I still was a part of the Broncos. So it's been everything that I ever wanted. And it's kind of hard to separate the appreciation and your dream coming true. But at the same time, you know, I'm a professional now, and I got to do my job when I go out there. So it's like, it's kind of hard sometimes balancing reflecting on the moment that I'm in, but actually being prepared to make sure that I stay a part of the Broncos and stay as a starter.
So where you grew up in Colorado, how far is that from Denver?
So from Denver is probably an hour. From where we're at now at the practice facility, it's probably an hour and 20 minutes, but it's eastern Colorado, so it's all farm ground. It's out there in the boonies, man. But it's a quick hour drive. So we did all of our school shopping up here. Everyone acts like I'm so familiar with Denver. I said, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I didn't get up to Denver much. I'm real familiar with eastern Colorado, which is pretty much western Kansas, but Denver's been a new setting for me.
Yeah. So is there a certain spot, like, is your family at every game and you know exactly like where they're sitting? You could look up in the stands and see them?
Yes, for my first 2 home games that we've had, they've been in the exact same spot for both games. I run out of the tunnel, and they're right there at the left, about 8 rows up. I get to wave to them, blow mom kisses, all that good stuff. So it's great to see them every game. I know they're so proud of me. And the coolest part, I can tell you, is just being in the stadium and seeing my jersey. I never thought that – I mean, I thought family and people from Wiggins would buy it, but I see people that I have no idea who they are wearing my jersey, you know. And I try to go up to some of those people. I remember the Jags game, I went up to this lady and I said, have we met before? Like, I just noticed you were wearing my jersey. And she just said she was a big fan. And I can't even describe to you or begin to describe the feeling that gave me, that people are wearing my last name on their back and my jersey number on their back like that. That's unreal.
I have one more for you before you skedaddle. We obviously love our fantasy sports here at DraftKings. Should we add fantasy stats for offensive linemen, like points for pancake blocks or negative points for sacks allowed and holding penalties? What do you think?
Yeah, I've been saying that for so long. I do not understand, and I guess if it doesn't have to be a part of fantasy, that's fine. But how cool would it be to have like a big man's challenge every single year and get O-line experts, D-line experts that know the game? And I know that D-line's a part of it because they can get sacks, but maybe just an O-line expert that can put together some sort of system that, you know, look at PFF with their run blocking grades and their pass blocking grades. It can be like that. You can have penalties that hurt them. You can bet, you know how you can take the defense in fantasy? Okay, well, how about each week you can pick one offensive line? Which offensive line is going to have the best overall run blocking percentage, or which offensive line is going to have the most run yards? Like, I think that'd be so cool. I think you could break it down in so many ways. I'll tell you right now, if that's still not a thing when I get out of the NFL, whether that's in a year or 10 years, whatever God's plan is, like I'm gonna make something like that. That's for sure. It's funny
It could be like fantasy in the trenches, you know?
Yes, man. You could get something going. You're onto something, man. You need to run with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we gotta show more love to you big beef eaters down there, dude, doing all the work.
Yes, get people to understand the game a little bit. My pet peeve is when you watch a game, not of ours, but you see an announcer talk about the running back scoring, right? Okay, he maybe had a good cut, but when a running back doesn't get touched and he runs for 25 yards and they're talking about the run, like, come on, man. There's a reason there's not anyone touching the guy. We got to get a little love to these O-line.
Oh, good stuff, man. Dalton Risner, man, you are a good dude. Thanks for joining DraftKings. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. It's my pleasure. It's great to meet you.
What's happening? I'm Brendan Glasheen, and with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Giants are decimated by injuries right now. G-men will be thin Thursday night at New England. They're down to a third-string running back as Saquon Barkley remains out, and Wayne Gallman is out with a concussion. As far as receivers go, Sterling Shepard's out after suffering already his second concussion of 2019. Oh, and Adam Schefter reports there's also a real chance the Giants will be without Evan Ingram, who is dealing with a sprained MCL. So here's what's on the menu for Daniel Jones to choose from against arguably the best defense in the NFL. You've got Golden Tate coming back for just his second game from suspension, Darius Slayton, John Hilliman, who is likely to make his first career start, Elijah Penny, Rhett Ellison, Cody Latimer, Garrett Dickerson, Cody Core, Brendan Glasheen. No, I'm kidding. Need I say more? How can you touch any Giants players in DraftKings Showdown or make a case to bet for them on Sportsbook? Last 2 weeks of Thursday Night Football have been awesome and entertaining. Not this week.
Okay, one more time with this three-headed potato chip. DraftKings contributors Reed Fowler, Jeff Fulrick, Matt Jones are the following spreads for Week 6 in the NFL. Too high or too low? It's a segment we like to call high or low. Patriots opening up as the biggest favorites of the week. 16.5 points hosting the Giants on Thursday. I don't know who the hell is going to play for the Giants. I feel like everyone is injured for them. Is that number too high or too low, Matty?
Yeah, it's the same situation as last week. It's too low. Like, there's nobody playing for the Giants.
I know.
All of the people that you may have drafted are no longer playing. Everything is going downhill. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm smiling through the tears right now. It's way too low. It's going to be a boat race.
Patriots 1-5 against the spread in the 6 games since these two have played each other in the Belichick era, Jeff.
I wouldn't worry too much about that stat this week. Matt already alluded to the injuries. It really sounds like the Giants are basically just going to sail in this game and let Saquon Barkley stay at home and get healthy. He hasn't been ruled out completely, but it would shock me if Evan Ingram or Saquon Barkley suited up for this game. The Patriots are 14-7 in the last 21 games as home favorites. I think this line should be closer to 20. Personally, the Giants can't tackle, as we saw last week against Dalvin Cook. Sony Michel could get like 3 touchdowns here, and the Patriots could just walk away with a 30-0 win. So, way too low for me.
That leaves you, Muffin Man.
Way too small.
Wait, but time out. The Giants are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 meetings in New
That's
England.
when I had actual people to play on the field.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Jeff. Jeez. There's no
Dang,
way
Jeff,
this
chill.
is going to be even close. There's no way it's going to be even close, right? I mean, these guys alluded to it. If you look at the Patriots, 13-3 in their last 16 they're 13-3 against the spread in their last 16 games at home against a team with a losing record. So, I mean, Belichick, the only thing that could make this not hit is if Belichick says, hey, short week, we're going to get 3 days of rest, we're thinking long term, give the second and third string guys, if there's third string guys on the team that are suiting up in the 53-man roster, give these guys some run, and maybe there's a backdoor cover, but that's not going to happen.
Just throw it to James White, man. Let James White go to town for the Giants. Jeff, the closest game on the DK Sportsbook is the Seahawks and the Browns in Cleveland. They have Seattle as just a 1.5-point favorite here. Is that number too small after that garbage performance by the Browns last night?
Oh, God. This is an interesting spot. Everyone saw that game last night, and just right off the bat, going to look at where all the public money's going, I mean, Seattle is the overwhelming favorite bet of the public this week, and you always need to consider like recency bias and the fact we just saw Cleveland basically just throw away a game and basically just say the second half, we're not even going to try and go for it on fourth down. So that is ingrained into the public's head here. It's ingrained into the line here this week. At the same time, I can't sit here and say that I like taking the Browns side here. I mean, this is a team that had major troubles in the red zone. They're bottom half of the league in red zone conversion. They might even be bottom 5 after last night. I don't know. And then you have Seattle, who's got a wizard at quarterback and is first in the league in red zone conversion rates. I would probably just pile on with the public and take Seattle because I just feel like Cleveland. I know they bounced back last time, but they feel like on the cusp of just things getting too bad to come back from. So give me Seattle, I guess. But like I said, not really a game I'm necessarily happy because it's such a public favorite bet the Seahawks are.
Okay, Reed, what do you think here?
Oh, are we boring you there, Lotzia?
What are you talking about?
Full yawn there? No,
that wasn't a yawn at all. What?
Anyway,
just answer the stinking question.
Going back to the question for a guy who has Baker Mayfield on his fantasy roster.
I am angry right now inside.
Angry. And to what Jeff was saying, look, the public goes both ways, right? In terms of guys that we like and then you like to sell in season-long fantasy, right? You see these guys that have these primetime games, and then you want to sell them or then buy them if they play bad. It's the same as this in a lot of ways. It's not apples to apples, but the Browns, they put up a stinker, man. They did not look good at all. We're now seeing that their worst part of their offense is being exposed, especially against that San Francisco front 7 or even front 4. They're only rushing 4 if you watch that game. I was a schlup like Jeff, and I watched that game the whole way through, and they only would rush 4, and Baker could not get any time. The pocket was collapsing. And so when you look at this game and the public going to Seattle, it's the same narrative a little bit that what we saw with Cleveland going to the West Coast, right? Now we get a West Coast team heading out east, Cleveland getting back home. They just got embarrassed on national television. This 1.5, I'm leaning a little bit towards Cleveland. I'm not going to write them off completely. They're in a world of hurt. They need to really, really look at their offensive line. That coaching staff really needs to go back to the drawing boards.
The whole team is awful.
And get Odell Beckham the ball. I know they were trying, but get him in open space because if you look at this matchup, Seattle's secondary is bad. It's not good. And I know we want to run Nick Chubb. We talked about it last segment. This is where you attack the Seattle defense as a secondary. So this line right now as it stands, I like Cleveland, but I can understand Jeff's point with Seattle. They just look like a way better team.
So is Matt Baker just going to air it out here?
I guess he's going to try, right? Like, I don't know. So Cleveland is 11th in pass DVOA and 23rd in rush DVOA, right? So, like, can't you just picture Pete Carroll, like, aggressively chewing his gum on the sideline?
Oh,
like,
I hate that.
Calling the 19th run in a row on this drive. Like, it's just, you know that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm a Baker guy, but it's been rough. I think this could be a field goal game pretty easily. So I guess the number's a little too low, but yeah, I'm taking Seattle.
Yeah, chewing his gum and hand on his knees, just bending over, watching that 3rd and 2, grind it out with Carson,
just
baby.
Establishing all of the run.
Yeah, exactly.
So nice.
Matt, did you just put your glasses on, or have I just missed that the whole show?
Yeah, I realized that I was squinting in the first segment, and that's why.
Yeah, he watched the tape.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he watched the tape. He adjusted. Cleveland can learn something
Good
from
stuff,
that.
man. No, you look great.
Yeah.
Reed's been wearing glasses. Reed's been wearing glasses around the office.
Yeah, man, that blue light, man. You gotta take away that blue light from the monitors, man. We look at the screen too much. Really, the content that people are coming for.
Yeah, that's right,
Don't
man.
shake your head, Jeff. Elite receivers in Jacksonville. Come on.
Okay, all right, everyone, calm down. Yeah, by the way, someone on YouTube, Jeff, you crazy.
Well,
that was right after your elite comment with DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook. But again,
like leading the league in everything right now.
Okay, all right, everyone, calm down. We have 2 more questions. The Ravens are 11-point favorites when they host the Bengals. Should they be favored by even more, though, Reed?
Yes. And what we saw, really, it's been a tale of 2 games on the form and before. So they got 4 games right now, 4 or 5 games under their belt. We saw Lamar do really well in those first few games, and then over the last 2, he's turned the ball over quite a bit. And that's really what's changed right now is they've gone a little bit away from the run, and Lamar's not been the passer that he was in those first few games. that really has been the switch, in my opinion. If you look at Cincinnati, it's really good that you can right this ship with Cincinnati because they only turn the ball over 8.5% of the times when the opposing offense is on the field. That's bottom third in the NFL. Their defense does not turn the offense over. So I like this spot. I think Baltimore is in a bounce back spot, and so yeah, this number should be a lot higher.
Yeah, Matt, Ravens have just absolutely owned the Bengals in their last 10 meetings here.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals are awful. Like, there's not really anything that they're going to be able to do on defense. Like, Baltimore has to beat themselves. So I think 11 is probably right. It is in Baltimore, so maybe you could throw them a couple extra points. But, yeah, I don't think that this is the game that Cincinnati, like, finds something and competes with the Ravens.
Okay, Jeff, does Cincinnati find something, and are they able to compete?
I'm going to throw up a little defense for Cincinnati.
Oh.
Look, it's more a factor of I just don't think Baltimore is really that good. They're also not a very good cover team. They're 3-7, covering as home favorites for the last 10 games. So I know Cincinnati's not good, but at the same time, they've been able to get Joe Mixon going the last couple times, and we've seen the Ravens' run defense. I mean, gave up like all the yards to Nick Chubb a couple weeks ago. I definitely think this is a spot the Bengals could get Joe Mixon going. Lamar Jackson has been good, but he hasn't been great the last few weeks. And I mean, if the Bengals can jump out here a bit with their run game, definitely keep this within 11 points. So I think the spread is a little bit too big. Division game, yeah, I take the Bengals in this one.
Let's talk about the ugliest game of the week here. Clearly, the Redskins at the Dolphins. Hashtag the Tank Bowl. DK Sportsbook, or like the Tua Bowl, right?
I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the
Okay.
first one overall,
Everyone.
yeah.
The Toilet Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Definitely the Toilet Bowl. DK Sportsbook likes Washington by 3.5. Do you agree with this line, Mr. Jones?
I mean, like who knows, right? Like this game could easily be 48-45, or it could be like 3-0. Like I have no feel for what's gonna happen with this game.
Yeah.
Like you have, the new coach on one sideline that thinks they're not running the ball enough because he's a dope, and you have the other team like everybody's trying to leave Miami. Like they don't want to stay in Miami. Like who wants to leave Miami? So yeah, I sure it's fine just because they're in Washington. Like I don't know. It's fine. It's the worst game to bet on this week though.
Jeff, we have another comment on YouTube. Underdog lover Jeff. We have 1 minute in the show, so hurry up.
I do love the underdog. I like the Dolphins here. They're coming off a bye. Whenever you get two teams,
Oh my God.
whenever you get two teams that are this bad, just take the points.
Oh, good.
That's all I have to say.
Take the
Okay,
points.
that's fine.
Miami hasn't scored any points. I mean, come on. Look, no, I'm not going to talk Jeff off of like betting Miami because you're going up against Washington.
Yeah, right. It's not your money.
God, but I mean, I guess the best player out of this entire is Kenyon Drake, if you want to say that. So if you want to play these spots in fantasy, but I mean, come on, no one's going to be betting on this game. No one's going to be watching this game. Yeah, sure. Take the I'll go with Jeff just to be with him with the loving the underdogs here. So yeah, go with Miami.
Nice.
I don't even like that.
That was cute.
Guys, we got to go. We have 10 seconds left in the show. Now 8 seconds. We're back tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Hey, Jesse's back tomorrow, guys. She's going to be in a great mood.
Thank God.